These are the top 10 books that explore the depths of human isolation. There is a loneliness that comes from being alone in a room. And then there is a deeper loneliness, the kind that follows a person into crowds, into marriage, into success, even into sleep. Some books do not merely show isolation. They make us feel its temperature. They take us inside the locked room of a human soul and reveal what happens when a person cannot be understood, cannot be reached, or cannot even understand themselves. Let's begin. Number 10. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Holden Caulfield is surrounded by people, but he cannot truly touch any of them. He talks, jokes, judges, rebels, but beneath all that noise is a boy quietly drowning. He is grieving, frightened, disgusted by adulthood, and desperate for someone to see how badly he is breaking. Salinger shows us that sometimes loneliness wears the mask of rebellion. Number 9. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein is often called a horror novel, but at its heart, it is one of literature's great tragedies of abandonment. The creature is born innocent. He wants warmth, language, friendship, and love. But the moment the world sees his face, it rejects him. His isolation is not chosen. It is forced upon him by human fear. A heart rejected by the world may become the monster the world expected. Number 8. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Esther Greenwood is young, intelligent, talented, and completely trapped inside herself. The world expects her to be grateful, ambitious, and bright. But inside, she feels separated from life by an invisible glass wall. She can see people moving, speaking, smiling, but she cannot enter their world. That is the horror of the bell jar. It is not silence. It is suffocation. Number 7. No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. Few books describe alienation as painfully as no longer human. Yozo does not simply feel lonely. He feels disqualified from being human. From childhood, he believes other people know some secret rule of living that he has never understood. So he performs. He smiles. He jokes. He becomes whatever people want him to be. But behind the performance is a terrifying emptiness. Number 6. The Stranger by Albert Camus. Meursault is isolated not because he is physically alone, but because he does not feel the world in the way society demands. He does not cry when expected. He does not lie to make others comfortable. He does not pretend meaning where he finds none, and for that the world condemns him. Camus turns isolation into philosophy, the loneliness of a man who refuses to pretend. Number 5. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre is one of the most powerful portraits of moral isolation in English literature. As a child, Jane is unloved. At Lowood, she learns discipline through suffering. Even when she finds love, she refuses to lose herself in it. Jane's loneliness has dignity. She is isolated because she will not betray her conscience just to be loved. Bronte shows that loneliness can also be the price of self-respect. Number 4. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Raskolnikov's isolation begins in a small room, but it becomes a prison of the soul. He cuts himself off from family, friends, faith, and human warmth. He believes he is extraordinary, above ordinary morality. But after his crime, he discovers that the human soul cannot survive without connection. His punishment is not only legal, his punishment is separation from mankind. Guilt isolates more completely than walls. Number 3. The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Gregor Samsa wakes up transformed into an insect, but the true horror is not his body. The true horror is how quickly his family stops seeing him as a son. Before his transformation, Gregor was already isolated. He worked endlessly, carried the family's burdens, and lived as a tool rather than a person. He was useful before he was loved. Kafka turns emotional neglect into a physical nightmare. Number 2. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is not the loneliness of one person. This is the loneliness of an entire family, an entire town, almost an entire civilization. In Macondo, generations love, dream, desire, repeat mistakes, and yet fail to truly understand one another. The Buendia family is surrounded by magic, passion, war, and beauty, but each soul remains sealed inside its own fate. Garcia Marquez makes solitude feel inherited, like a curse. Number 1. Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. At number 1 is perhaps the most frighteningly intimate book ever written about isolation. The underground man is not trapped by society alone. He is trapped by his own mind. He overthinks everything. He resents everyone. He longs for love, then destroys the possibility of being loved. He wants connection, but the moment it approaches him, he poisons it with pride, shame, cruelty, and self-consciousness. Dostoevsky takes us into the basement of the human personality, where humiliation, intelligence, loneliness, and bitterness feed on one another. Notes from Underground is terrifying because it feels too familiar. It shows a person who has spent so long alone inside his thoughts that he no longer knows how to come back to life. And that is the deepest isolation of all, not being abandoned by others, but becoming unreachable even to yourself. Together, these books tell us one haunting truth. The loneliest place in the world is not an empty room. It is a human heart that has forgotten how to be reached.